Just one nomination at the Oscars for this one, but it's a biggie. Best Actor for Paul Mescal, a name I had not heard until this year. Let's talk about Aftersun. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the new film Aftersun, nominated at this year's Academy Awards. You can check it out now for your on-demand home viewing pleasure. And I'm not sure if the DVD or Blu-ray is out yet, but I know you can get it on demand at this point. So the Oscars is in a few days. So by the time you're watching this, you may already know whether Paul Mescal took home the gold. I sense that he probably did not, but, only time will tell on that one. But in any event, welcome to Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. All of the big Oscar nominees have been reviewed in separate videos. I've made a playlist of them for you to peruse at your leisure. And also the big Oscar nominee, who will win, who should win, and who got snubbed Oscar predictions with my buddy Tim. That is up as well, and has gotten a lot of views. So thank you if you have checked that one out already. If not, it is on my channel. But let's talk about this specific movie here, Aftersun. Like I mentioned, Paul Mescal, a name I was unfamiliar with until a few months ago, and now he is, in the mix for Best Actor at the Oscars. And he gives a very strong performance that we're going to talk about. But I think maybe an even better performance is the gal that plays his daughter, Frankie Corio, who, is definitely, holds her own, against him and the rest of the cast. But what is, I think, even more impressive is this is, as far as I'm aware, her first acting performance in any kind of movie. And she just, crushes it. She's so good here. And this is a first-time writer-director as well. Charlotte Wells wrote and directed this movie. It is her debut in terms of feature-length films, and she's been getting some, awards, nominations, and, stuff at, like, the more independent type awards, but at the Oscars, it's all about Paul Mescal specifically. But the plot of this movie is essentially that this guy and his daughter are on vacation together, and this is sort of a look back about 20 years later. This takes place in the early 2000s. The daughter, now, grown up, is looking back at this vacation they had on the eve of her father's 31st birthday. And, at the time, she was thinking it was, one thing, she was seeing her father, but looking back on these videos, which, a lot of this movie is sort of presented in like a found footage type way, because we're seeing it through literally, the lens of her camera from back then. And, seeing that maybe her memories are not exactly as clear as she remembered, certain things that she didn't know about her father. This is a movie basically about struggling with mental health, specifically, some depression issues. And I think that is the movie's strongest element, even above the acting. I mean, the acting is good, for sure, like I mentioned, but I think the biggest strength of this movie is how, frankly, and how, realistically it deals with, severe depression and mental health struggles. It's never explicitly stated in the movie that, okay, that, here is the diagnosis, but us as the viewer can sort of figure out a little bit of what's going on. And that could be another strength of the movie, is that Wells kind of does allow the audience to sort of, feel the way that they're going to feel and sort of jump to certain conclusions that are not necessarily, spoon-fed to us. And I think there's a lot of Oscar nominees this year that that could be said about. But so I think the acting is very good. Does Paul Mescal deserve a nomination? Yeah, probably. There may be one or two snubs in that category, but I think they got a good crew this year. But, Frankie Corio, really, really strong as the daughter. But I think the screenplay is really one of the strongest elements of this film. And this is not something that really is in my family history. We don't have a lot of depression issues. We've got other issues. Don't worry about that. But there isn't, a long line of depression and such in my particular family. So I personally did not necessarily identify with some of the characters, but um, I have had people in my life, since I was a kid, that suffer from a lot of different mental health and depressive issues. So I found the portrayal extremely, realistic of really getting inside his mind, and that element of your memories maybe are not as they were. You're remembering things maybe not as they really were. And so, seeing some of these old video clips as she is, going through this vacation, the last trip, that her and her dad were able to take together, and you know, are things the way that she remembers them? Maybe not so much. And I think that's an interesting element too, something that we don't often see, in movies. And a lot of movies have like a narrator character or something. And there's that trope of like, well, is it an unreliable narrator? Are they just, sort of framing things the way they want us to see it? The camera doesn't lie, the videotapes don't lie. And so it's interesting. It's an interesting way to kind of tell that story and to talk about these characters. So I thought this was a very interesting movie. I think one massive drawback is that it doesn't really have much of a story. And there is a karaoke scene that I didn't particularly care for. Karaoke scenes, I think, are, among the weaker tropes in film. I talk about that all the time. But overall, I do think this is a pretty good movie. I leave Aftersun with a B. I don't think he's going to win an Oscar for it, but it's a good performance. But the script is even better. All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Dan Reviews It. Bye.